Hey Troy, happy to be with you today on this exciting Irish Day. So I've got my green on today. I know you're going to go and change anytime soon, but hey, welcome to Be the Bison video cast. So excited to have you join us. You've been a really nice inspiration for me to do these, so thank you. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about Troy, kind of where you at, and give us a little insight.
I'll give you a little bit. What you need to know most is been married for 30 years, have six children, five on earth. And I wanted to be three things when I was in college. I wanted to be an entrepreneur or work at my beloved Covenant College, where I went to college, which deeply impacted me, um, or a builder of some sort of houses. Weird combo, but that's kind of what I wanted to do. And turns out in life, I've ended up getting to do all of those, which is super fun. And I got to meet you, Andrew, through what I do now, which is Canning Group and Associates, an entrepreneurial venture. But we now combine some of those things because we work with not-for-profits, and we get to teach them how to run their business as a mission. So yeah, that's quick. That's a quick 1-2 minutes on me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so just building in a different way. And I know from our relationship that covenant thing still keeps popping up every now and then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
It Covenant College had a wonderful impact on my life. Um, I think the profs there really reached in to my beloved love for business and competition and said, "Hey, what does Christ have to do with all this?" And it was an immense blessing to me.
yeah, awesome. It's great when we have those experiences in life. And thank you for sharing the valuable and most important thing about family and marriage. And so thank you for that. All right, so we like to share stories about going into the storm. Like the bison and the herd of bison, an amazing animal that we have in creation that just decides to go into the storm versus running away from it. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about. Do you have a storm that you've encountered that you'd like to share?
Probably, Andrew, thinking about that, probably two of them. I'll make them brief. One's real personal, and one is business. I'll start with the business one because that's a lot easier. Um, I was working at Covenant College as vice president for advancement, kind of pretending I knew what I was doing, right? Get this vice president title, and you got to pretend, sort of. And I was learning how to manage, and I had this fellow that I hired that you've actually met, Andrew, out of the concrete business. And I worked in a fundraising development shop. Number one, everybody ought to be asking, what in the world did you hire a concrete guy for to go into nonprofit work? He was very systematic, very thoughtful, and I needed to develop kind of on the system side of things. And it became really tough. I'd hired this guy and hoped that he would get into the culture. He was a Covenant alum, so he loved it. But it was a whole new gig. And we kept kind of getting to the point where he wasn't really performing all that well. So you start wondering as a manager, is that me and my bad hire? Or is that him and he's just not digging in? And it turns out I think it was a little bit of both, but I kind of was tiptoeing. I guess I was kind of being cattle when a storm comes. I was kind of tiptoeing into it a little bit because Andrew, that cattle run away from the storm, right?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, hey, we've got this difficult matter. And the difficult matter is John, that's the fellow's name. He'll probably listen to this. And John, what we have happening here is it feels like you're sort of trying. And I was addressing symptoms, Andrew, not the problem. You ever been there? Where
Yeah.
you're kind of like, man, how do I do this? Because I care about this person, and I want to address the problems to get to the solution. And I really wasn't going down to the heart of the matter, which was frankly a little scarier for me because I was the one that hired a concrete guy to come into a nonprofit arena. And I think the heart of the matter was a bit, and we finally talked about it, John and I. We were sitting in a hotel room together. We had gone on a business trip, and he said, "Seems like you're pretty frustrated with me." So honestly, he was the one that broke the seal. And I said, I am. It feels like it feels like you're not all in. It feels like you're trying to get your job done, sort of, but you're not being an owner of your job. So you're coming to me with problems, not solutions. And I really need you to come to me with solutions. And he said, well, every solution, this was interesting. Every solution I seem to bring, you're somewhat disappointed with, and you won't talk to me about it in too much of a deep way. It was interesting because what I found out was, Andrew, honestly, I was running from the root of the problem with him. I was kind of wanting a quick solution, not to get down to the heart of the matter, which was the matter of the heart, right? Hey, how are we going to work together? What's working? What's not? All those tough conversations. So that's the quick business one. Do you want me to share a personal one too? Do we have time for that, or do you want to keep going?
Yeah, let's keep going, and then if we've got some time, we can jump into
Yeah.
the personal one. How's that sound? I want to kind of peel back that story a little bit about getting deeper, right? And so sometimes, when we look out and we see the storm, it doesn't look that bad, right? And then we kind of wait, and yeah, it'll be okay, and maybe I'll just kind of walk up this hill a little bit more, and watch this beautiful lake in front of me, and then all of a sudden, the storm rolls in and it's too late, right? Kind of concept is, what were you afraid of?
Man, Andrew, I was afraid of breaking the relationship. I was frankly a little afraid of hurting them. Interestingly enough, what I was doing by not addressing the real problem was hurting them. And I would love to say I was a wonderful leader here. I actually think he ended up leading a little better than I did, maybe a lot, by just saying, "Hey, there's a real issue here. What are we going to do about it?" And that broke the seal. And so I just said, "Hey, I think you're halfway in. I don't think you're all the way in. I don't think you're willing to make mistakes. I don't think you're willing to own your job here in the development office." And so that was really, that didn't create less conflict, Andrew. That created more. There was a significant. I'd be lying to say that went really well. There was a significant blow up by John after that, not in a mean sort of way, in a reactive sort of way. And we got down to the real issue at hand,
Nice.
which was probably, honestly, I lacked a little, giving him a little bit of training and a little bit of reins. So it's interesting, as a leader, you think you're really bringing a lot of great leadership and solutions, but honestly, most of the time, you just keep walking, and you're the one that really is often just as much at fault as the other person. And I found out, and I had to repent and say, "Hey, I've led poorly. That was no fun, but honestly, that's the answer to what I had to do."
No, that's good. It kind of connotes a picture in my mind of the alpha bison with the herd, right? And like we were saying, looking out, there's no storm really coming here. I'll just be passive and wait, right?
Mhm.
I'll maybe eat a little bit more grass, kind of, trying to make a bison analogy out of this, right? And then all of a sudden, the big storm comes, and it's really coming down, but that alpha has now got to take the lead and walk, with its herd, and accept, hey, I should have maybe started this a little bit earlier, right? But getting down deep and getting your hands dirty, that's not easy. But what would be a lesson that you learned, from that
Yeah.
experience?
I think part of what I was nervous about was I didn't know the solution. And so I kind of didn't, staying with the Bison analogy, walk into the storm. I kind of hoped it would get better. I didn't want to address the deeper issues. Um, I didn't know it at the time, but it probably goes back to what I said in the beginning. I was a VP and I thought I needed to know the solutions,
Yeah,
which is a joke, as you know, as a leader yourself, Andrew.
sure.
Um, it wasn't my job to know the solution. It was my job to care enough to keep going at the problem until we could solve it together. Frankly, to care enough about John to go into difficult conflict. When I was scared that would hurt him, what I was really doing was just extending the pain. Um, and sooner or later, as a follower of Jesus Christ, it means leading with repentance, not leading with I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that sense of humility, right? And but at the same time also leading courageously, and accepting the responsibility of your authority, but doing that courageously with humility and ultimately with love, right? And patience and all those things. And then, hopefully it works out, right? So to wrap this one up, and we got a couple more minutes, maybe we jump into the personal one. How did it turn out with John?
We may not have time to run into the personal one, but the John, we are best of buddies. We still do life together in many, many different avenues. He became just a gift to our office. Um, I wished that I would have had patience and love as you described on the front end. Honestly, I thought I was right and he wasn't getting it. But the way it ended up, honestly, was just both of us um, caring about each other more deeply and walking together arm in arm, trying to lift up fundraising development at Covenant College. It was and is an incredible treat to be able to tell that story. But let me tell you, getting there was no fun. And I guess what I would say to younger folks that have a big title is they think they need to know what they're doing. They don't need to know what they're doing. They just need to actually walk in and care about people more than they care about themselves and their pride.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. I know you started off talking about family, college, and building. It seems like all those three things kind of came out in your story with John there. Deeper relationship, extended family, right? The college experience and big part of your life and his in that story. So thank you, and then ultimately building others up, right? What a blessing it is to be able to do that by God's grace.
It's a crazy treat to be able to do, especially when you don't think you have to perform.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up for today, and maybe another time on the personal one. So, if people want to get a little bit more information on you, Troy, or your work, do you want to shout out a URL or something?
Yeah, I'd love you to contact me at troy@canaangroup.com. That's my email. You could also look up Canaan Group and Associates at canaangroup.com. Love to talk to you.
Awesome. What a blessing, Troy. Thanks for the time. If you are interested in this story and others, just go to solidleaders.com and then click on Be the Bison. There's some really great stories like Troy's. So, Troy, thank you for the time this afternoon, and let's do this again soon.
Andrew, thanks. You're a great friend. Good to see you, man.